in what you said, I didn't really hear, for lack of a better way of putting it, a specific description of what emptiness is.
Yeah, it's a good question. They have they all of these things, the thoughts, the sensations are empty of an inherent reality. They're empty of their own inherent nature, right? They're meaning they're all conditioned phenomena.
Okay.
You experience that feeling, that sensation in the body of um, un, unsafety because of all of the conditioning that has happened up until that point. And that sensation, when it arises, is not the actual beingness of unsafety. That is a hormonal cocktail. It is a stimulation of nerves, right? It is all of these different compounded parts coming together to create a certain state in the body for a limited period of time. It is conditioned because somebody who, lived in, take the Buddha, right? Like living in a castle, sheltered of absolutely all suffering for the first however many years of his life, probably would not have that same conditioned response to feel unsafe in any given situation, right? It hasn't been programmed into the system. It's not a real thing. It's something which has been learned by this mind-body organism in order to keep itself safe. And the way it's expressed is through this chemical, neurological, biological cocktail of experiences that are then interpreted as meaning, oh, you are unsafe right now. But it has no inherent existence of itself. There's no truth to it. It does not exist permanently. It is created entirely on the basis of all of the learning, all of the interpretations that are being done in that moment that I heard a story on the news today and all of a sudden I feel unsafe. You wouldn't have felt unsafe right now had you not heard that news story. Had you not interpreted that news story in a way that put it in relationship to you and your personal safety and history and current narrative. All of it is built on pieces on pieces on pieces on pieces that are all put together, and then the mind is confabulating all of that into something that it says is, I am unsafe now. So the phenomenological aspect in the body is compounded of so many different aspects, but then the thoughts themselves are also compounded of many different aspects. So they are also empty of their own inherent nature, right? The thoughts are a conditioned habitual pattern, a conditioned habitual response that we have had over the entire course of our lives. The brain is creating this particular thought, not because it's true and not because it's you, but it's something which is arising out of, unfathomable complexity of, the interworking of networks in the brain and trillions of neurons and all these things are happening. And this is thought happens to be what bubbles out of all of it, right? Like we have like 4 pounds of matter in the brain. What it comes up with is I'm unsafe right now. That's the best it does. So when that thought comes up, though, that thought has no inherent reality or truth to its being either. It does not know that this situation is unsafe. It does not know that there is a me here who is actually in danger or unsafe, or who even can be in danger or unsafe. It's proposing that there is, in fact, a me who it's protecting. It's referring to a subject. Who is that subject? That even the idea of subjecthood that it's referring to is itself a conditioned phenomenon, right? We talk all the time that the self is empty of an inherent existence because it's made up of all of these different aggregates of experience. The mind, the thought that arises that talks about that subject is just as much an aggregation of past experiences of um, uh, neurotransmitters, of, the interactions of brain chemistry, the interaction of sensory data coming in through our sense organs and being interpreted, and then these thoughts arising because of that. And the thought itself is this temporary fleeting wisp of a thing which only exists for a moment and then is gone.
Hmm.
So the entire experience is empty of any inherent reality. The experience of I am unsafe has no inherent reality to it because it's based on these concepts that there is a me here who can be unsafe. It's based off of the concept that there is such a thing as being unsafe, which means that there is a separate entity here who is at the mercy of an external world who could endanger it. It's based on an idea of separation and duality, that this is an individual isolated being with certain needs and proclivities and abilities to be harmed separate from the environment around it. And not that actually everything that happens in the environment is also happening in here, and that when anything happens in here, when anything happens to this part of the environment, the rest of the environment is also implicated. It's also affected by it, right? The When this body dies and breaks back down into the earth, those microorganisms are all just having new lives, right? Like this is mostly bacteria that isn't even human cells, right? The human cells make up the smallest percentage of the human body.
Damn.
We're mostly, bacteria of various types. So that all, I know it's crazy, right? But
I wasn't really aware of that
yeah,
before.
it's true. Yeah. I forget what the exact percentage is, but there are fewer human body cells in the human body than there are bacteria and other microorganisms.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you are more bacteria than you are person. So when that body dies, all of that starts to break down, and the constituent elements go back, and the energy is never destroyed, and all of that, so on and so forth. So the entire process of being unsafe is a conceptual illusion which is empty of any inherent nature. We're falsely identifying one part of the entire totality of everything and saying that part is unsafe compared to everything else. All of it is interwoven. None of it is affected without affecting everything else.
Right.
So we can break down every little bit of thought and sensation and experience and recognize that it is entirely conditioned by conceptualization, and that all of it is empty of any inherent reality.